It was a cold, biting morning in Whiteland, Indiana. The kind of morning where your breath hangs in the air and the world feels hushed, wrapped in a blanket of mist and frost. The sun was just beginning to push through the haze, painting the fields and empty roads with a pale golden light. For most people, it was just another start to an ordinary day. But for those who make their living on the road, every sunrise brings a new set of challenges, and sometimes unexpected dangers. For one truck driver, the day began like so many before it, routine, almost automatic. He moved through the motions, checking his rig, pulling on his heavy jacket, and bracing himself for the long hours ahead. It was just another job, another load to haul across state lines, another day spent chasing the endless ribbon of highway. The sun barely crested the horizon as he finished his pre-trip inspection. His rig parked among dozens of others at the Pilot Travel Center. The lot was a patchwork of idling engines and sleepy drivers, all preparing for the day's journey. The air was thick with the smell of diesel and coffee, a familiar comfort to those who call the road their second home. Trucking is a life defined by long hours and lonely nights. It's a job that demands constant vigilance, unwavering focus, and a deep sense of responsibility, not just for the cargo, but for the lives that share the road. The solitude can be both a blessing and a curse, offering time to think, but also leaving drivers alone with their thoughts and worries. Our driver, whose name we're withholding for his safety, was no stranger to these demands. He was a seasoned professional, with years of experience etched into the lines of his weathered face. He'd logged countless miles, navigated through blizzards and thunderstorms, and handled breakdowns in the dead of night. He knew the risks, but he also knew the rewards, the pride of delivering on time, the satisfaction of a job well done. He'd seen it all: engines failing in the middle of nowhere, sudden storms turning highways into rivers, and the endless, hypnotic rhythm of tires on asphalt. Each day brought its own set of obstacles, but he faced them all with quiet determination. The road was unpredictable, but he had learned to expect the unexpected. That morning, as he sipped his coffee and watched the sky lighten, he was probably thinking about the miles ahead, the next delivery, and maybe what he'd have for lunch. He had no reason to suspect that anything was amiss. To him, it was just another day, another stretch of highway, another routine run. But sometimes, it's the days that seem most ordinary that take the most unexpected turns. He'd left his trailer parked for a federally mandated rest break, a pause required by law to keep drivers and everyone else on the road safe. These breaks are a lifeline for truckers, offering a chance to rest, recharge, and prepare for the next leg of the journey. The lot was quiet, the world still waking up, and his trailer sat alone, waiting for him to return. In those early morning hours, the trailer was vulnerable, unwatched, exposed, and easy to overlook. Most days, nothing happens. The world moves on, and the cargo remains untouched. But every trucker knows that the road can be unpredictable, and that sometimes, trouble finds you when you least expect it. On this particular June morning, as the town of Whiteland slowly came to life, unseen hands crept through the lot. Someone had targeted his rig, moving quietly in the shadows while most drivers slept or sipped their coffee. It was a violation that would change the course of his day, and possibly his career. The driver, still unaware, walked back toward his truck, ready to get back on the road. But as he approached, something felt off. He didn't know it yet, but his ordinary day was about to take a sharp, dangerous turn, one that would test his experience, his resolve, and his trust in the routines that had always kept him safe. Every good trucker starts with a pre-trip inspection, a lifeline, not a formality. It's a ritual that separates the professionals from the careless, a moment of focus before the long hours ahead. For many, it's just another box to tick, but for those who know the road's dangers, it's the first and most important defense against disaster. Our driver grabbed his flashlight and circled his rig, methodically checking brakes, tires, and connections. He listened for hisses, felt for loose fittings, and scanned for anything out of place. Each step was deliberate, a practiced dance learned from years of experience and stories of what can go wrong when you rush. At the trailer's rear, he focused on the cargo seal, a simple tag with a unique number, proof the load is untouched. This seal is more than plastic and numbers. It's a promise to the shipper and receiver that what's inside is exactly as it should be. It's a small detail, but in trucking, small details matter most. But something was off. The seal was different. The number didn't match his paperwork. He double-checked, hoping it was a trick of the light or a smudge on the page, but the numbers were clear, and they were wrong. A less attentive driver might have shrugged it off, chalked it up to a clerical error, and hit the road. But he knew better. He'd heard stories of loads gone missing, of drivers blamed for cargo that vanished somewhere between pickup and delivery. A mismatched seal is a red flag. Cargo compromised, maybe stolen, maybe something added. It's a warning that something has happened when no one was looking, and now the responsibility sits squarely on the driver's shoulders. Dread settled in. Thieves don't usually replace seals. This felt organized, deliberate. It wasn't just a random act. Someone had planned this. Someone who knew what they were doing. He paused, replaying scenarios in his mind. Was it a simple mistake, or was he standing at the center of something much bigger? He thought about the route, the stops, the people who had access to the trailer. Every possibility raced through his mind. This wasn't petty crime. It was something bigger, the kind of thing that could end a career, or worse, put someone in danger. He felt the weight of responsibility, knowing that every decision from here on out mattered. His routine inspection had just uncovered a mystery. What started as a normal morning was now a turning point, a moment that demanded courage and clarity. He stood at the edge of something serious, knowing that his next move could change everything, not just for himself, but for everyone counting on that cargo to arrive safely. Alone in the fading light of the parking lot, the truck driver found himself at a crossroads. The lot was silent except for the distant hum of traffic, and his truck stood out as the only sign of life. He stared at the tampered seal on his trailer, heart pounding, knowing he had to make a decision. Should he ignore what he saw and keep driving, or should he risk everything by taking action? The pressure to keep moving was overwhelming. Every minute he sat there meant lost time, missed deadlines, and angry calls from dispatch. But his instincts, honed by years on the road, screamed at him to stop and think. Something wasn't right, and he couldn't shake the uneasy feeling gnawing at his gut. He knew that if there was something illegal or dangerous inside, he would be the one held responsible. The thought of being blamed for something he didn't do sent a chill down his spine. He imagined the headlines, the questions, and the consequences that could follow. As he sat in the cab, he glanced at a photo of his family taped to the dashboard. He weighed his career, his freedom, and the future of those he loved against the inconvenience of a few hours' delay. Was it worth risking everything for the sake of convenience? With a deep breath, he made his choice. He picked up his phone, dialed 911, and calmly reported the tampered seal. He explained his suspicions to the dispatcher, his voice steady, but his hands trembling. He knew this call could change everything, but he couldn't ignore his conscience. It took real courage to make that call. Inviting police scrutiny is never easy, especially when you know it could mean hours of questioning, paperwork, and suspicion. But he understood that doing the right thing often means facing uncomfortable truths. He stood his ground, refusing to be a pawn in someone else's dangerous game. He would not let fear or pressure dictate his actions. Instead, he chose to act with integrity, no matter the cost. That single phone call set off a chain of events that would soon reveal a shocking truth hidden within his trailer. Police cars arrived, lights flashing, and the quiet parking lot was suddenly filled with urgency and purpose. As he handed over his paperwork and explained the situation to the officers, he felt a sense of relief mixed with anxiety. He had chosen responsibility over convenience, and now he had to trust that he'd done the right thing. In that moment, he became more than just a truck driver. He became a guardian of the road, someone willing to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. Police arrived, listened to the driver, and examined the suspicious seal and manifest. With caution, they broke the fraudulent seal and opened the trailer. At first, everything looked normal, cargo stacked neatly. But hidden among the shipment were 10 unmarked brown boxes, not on the manifest. Inside, tightly wrapped bricks of white powder, cocaine. All 10 boxes were filled with it, about 350 pounds in total. The street value? $17 million. It was one of Indiana's largest drug seizures, all because a driver noticed a tiny detail. He'd unknowingly hauled a fortune in narcotics for a dangerous cartel. His ordinary day had become a multi-million-dollar nightmare. He was now at the center of a storm. The Indiana trucker's story exposes a harsh reality. America's highways are prime routes for drug trafficking. Cartels exploit the sheer volume of truck traffic, hiding illegal cargo in plain sight. Sometimes drivers are complicit, but more often they're unwitting mules. Cartel operatives target unattended trucks, stash drugs, and replace seals in minutes. Honest drivers face impossible odds. If caught, they're presumed guilty. Proving innocence is a long, costly battle. Reporting the crime as this driver did is brave but dangerous. Cartels are ruthless. Doing the right thing can make you a target. That's why his identity remains secret. What happened in Indiana is a classic blind mule operation. Cartels use unwitting drivers to move drugs, minimizing their own risk. Scouts identify a truck, wait for the driver's break, then a team loads the contraband and replaces the seal. The driver, unaware, continues the journey. At the destination, another team retrieves the drugs, often using GPS trackers. The driver is left with a broken seal, if they notice at all. It's a cold, calculated system exploiting industry vulnerabilities. Drivers are seen as disposable tools, not people. In Indiana, the cartel's plan failed because the driver was too diligent. His professionalism foiled their scheme. After the bust, local police and the DEA launched a full investigation. But the trail went cold. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no leads. The cartel operatives vanished without a trace. Months passed, and no arrests were made. The massive cocaine haul became a security risk, so authorities destroyed it. The story made headlines briefly, then faded. The driver's life was upended. Interviews, investigations, and the shadow of cartel retribution. He did the right thing, but paid a personal price. The threat remains, and so does his story. He'll carry it for the rest of his life. Was the driver a genius, lucky, or just professional? Likely, all three. Luck played a part. The replaced seal was just different enough to catch his eye. But it was his experience and attention to detail that made the difference. Years on the road taught him to spot trouble. His professionalism and integrity drove him to act. He could have ignored the problem but chose to intervene. He took a stand, knowing the risks. His diligence took millions in drugs off the streets. He wasn't a superhero, just the right person at the right time. He represents the best of the trucking industry. Real heroes rarely wear capes. They look like ordinary people making tough choices. This driver didn't seek the spotlight. He just wanted to do his job and get home safe. But when faced with a moral test, he chose integrity over convenience. He prevented a massive shipment of drugs from reaching the streets. His reward? Anonymity, lingering anxiety, and a story he can't share. He paid a personal price for his courage. He's a reminder that heroism is found in quiet moments of responsibility. He showed that one honest person can disrupt a criminal enterprise. In a dangerous world, that's a powerful message. Sometimes doing the right thing is the bravest act of all.